everyone, and welcome to Chatting with Kora. I'm your host, Kora. Now tonight, we have an educator, a drag queen, and a storyteller. Please welcome to Chatting with Kora, John Paul Kane. John Paul, how are you doing? How goes the quarantine?
Oh my goodness, it's going actually not too bad. Um, generally day to day, it's pretty good. I mean, I think if anything, the quarantina has forced me to sort of be more present in the day than I've ever experienced in my entire life. It's like I've transitioned now into teaching remotely, and my days are no longer the traditional 8 hour day. My days begin at 8:30 in the morning, but they will continue on and off right up until 2 a.m. with just trying to make sure that I have things prepared for the next day and up on the app that I'm using to keep my students connected. Um, and also just to respond and give them video messages reflecting on the learning that they've shared with me and then post it on the app so it inspires the other children in the class. So long days.
Wow. And are most teachers doing all of this? Is everything just moved to sort of this electronic way of teaching?
Yeah. Well, for the TDSB who I am employed with, we have moved. We're now in the middle of our second week, the end of our second week nearing, and it's an expectation that we're engaged and connected with our families and our students. And, uh, you know, the children are expected to do up to 5 hours of work because I teach kindergarten. So kids who are a K to 3 are working, are supposed to be learning roughly 5 hours per week. But, with all of the issues that families are facing, many parents are either out of work because of COVID-19 or they're working remotely and they have to attend meetings as well online. So I'm very, very aware of the fact that for them to try and juggle all of this and then to add on the aspect of engaging their kids in learning, it's a huge challenge.
And do kids at this age, do they know what's going on?
We talked about it quite a bit leading up to when the Ministry of Education made the announcement that initially we were going to be extending our separation from school for 2 weeks beyond the March break. So we talked about COVID-19. I found some materials and resources and asked them questions that they had and concerns that they had because there's no point in not telling kids the truth.
Hmm.
And they are, like I said, they're extremely curious and they want to know and they need reassurance from people they trust, right?
Yeah.
So I would explain to them that it was something that was new, that it was at the time was similar to the flu, but that for some people who had compromised immune systems or who were elderly or had pre-existing conditions where they may have been ill, it was more difficult for them to try to survive it, and that for some people they would die from it because it would cause them to become terribly ill so that they wouldn't be able to breathe on their own. And they were very curious about that sort of thing. None of them seemed or presented like they were scared about hearing that.
Uh-huh.
I think they felt like they were better equipped now because they had more knowledge. For me, I'm very invested in my students. I want them to feel successful. I want them to persevere. I want them to overcome things. And I want them to know that I'm still here for them, that I am still their teacher, and that I care and I love them. They did announce, well, Doug Ford, being the fearless idiot that he is, announced that we would not be returning on May the 4th. And I'm more than likely we won't be going back to school for the end of this school year. It's probably not going to happen. I mean, we've got the prime minister making comments about the fact that this notion of returning to normal is probably something that is never going to happen. Like, we have to take what's happening and learn from this and realize that what we had existing in our society, it's not working. There's so much inequity going on. There are people who are being left behind. I mean, we're still dealing with issues out there around the fact that we have homeless people who are in shelters. There's no distancing happening with those beds that are set up. I have friends who work specifically frontline dealing with people who are homeless and living on the streets and who are battling mental health stuff and dealing with addiction stuff. And they have been shouting and screaming for weeks and weeks saying we need to do something, and they're doing it. They're doing the best that they can with, all these austerity bullshit things that Ford and the provincial government have put into play. And they're trying their best, but they're not even themselves properly equipped with protective gear to deal with this.
After this pandemic or this bout, will things change? Are they going to go back to being the same?
I think conservatives will always just prioritize their wealth and themselves first, beyond the notion of looking out for those who are vulnerable that need our help. There's no reason why people should be hoarding fucking millions of dollars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. And really only time will tell. I mean, if anything, I hope that there is now more of a raised consciousness among people where they're like, hey, what we had existing before all of this happened, it has to change. We need to invest in healthcare, social services, mental health, shelters, education, programming for kids with autism. We need to do all that stuff. And what is the first stuff that fucking Doug Ford attacked? All of those things. All of those things. So, and look how easy it is all of a sudden after a year and a half of him saying, we don't have the money, we don't have the money, we don't have the money. Suddenly now he's magically found this money. It's because that money's always fucking been there. There.
There. Yes. I couldn't agree more. Now, you're also a drag queen?
Yes, I know.
I know. And when did you start doing facelift?
But the very first time I ever performed as facelift was at Buddy's in Bad Times Theatre here in Toronto. And so that would have been November or December of 2007.
Okay.
That I started performing there. And then slowly, people were like, well, you can't be a drag queen. You don't shave your chest. You can't be a drag queen. You have a beard.
Yeah.
You're not that. Because everyone has this obvious idea. This is all before RuPaul's Drag Race.
For sure. I remember hearing people saying like, oh, she's not really doing drag because she has a beard or a mustache or it's this male aesthetic mixed in with the female, right?
Yeah. It's like, I mean, the thing was, for me, it's like, when I think about drag influences, I think about people like Divine. I think about the Cockettes. I think about the gender bending stuff that the Cockettes were doing in the late 60s in San Francisco and New York, right? So,
they were so groovy. They were
God, amazing.
Insane. Like,
And
amazing.
ahead of their time, right? But the reality is, it's like, drag is one of those things that I'm not trying to imitate anybody. I'm trying to be my own creative thing. Like it's right. Like it's there's nobody else who is like what Faye is like.
Well, and what I love about your drag in particular is how involved so many people doing backup for you.
Yeah.
And
I am very lucky.
God, it's like I can't even get two people to do something, you know? But I think that's the thing. It's so body positive. It is so emotionally upbeat. Every kind of person from any walk of life can kind of like, you're the Pied Piper, and they just kind of follow you. It's amazing.
I'm very, very fortunate that so many people have been so willing to don a peanut butter and jelly costume, or to put on giant lips with a tongue and, big, Mickey Mouse hands and dance around and have fun. And in turn, those people who I've met have become my friends, and they just love to entertain. And I think the message there is that really, if it's in your heart and you want to do it, you can do it.
All right. JP, are you ready for your 11 questions?
I'm ready, honey.
What's your favorite food?
Pasta.
Favorite movie?
Steel Magnolias.
Favorite musical group or person?
Kylie Minogue.
What's your favorite podcast?
I actually really like that one that Willem and Alaska do. I think it's called Race Chaser or something like that.
What is one of the best moments of your life so far?
Caleb and I, we were brought down to this huge children's event for programming for kids down in Miami. And we got to host a party where we were leading a fundraiser that ended up raising almost $10,000 for fire relief for Australia. That was incredible. I think performing with my kids too. There's too many of these amazing things that have happened.
What is one of the worst moments of your life?
It was either Fab or Extra had like an anniversary party at Buddy's. They had open bar, And when I finally went on stage to perform, oh my God, it was a total shit show. And I could not, I started to move around and the top all came apart and my drag was, it was a total disaster. And that was the last time that I ever drank before I performed.
How are you filling your quarantine time?
Sitting in front of either my phone, an iPad, or my Mac, interacting with my kids, chatting with friends, sending memes, getting riled up about the, the lack of support for healthcare workers and the fuckery of Doug Ford.
When the quarantine is over, what is the first thing you're going to do?
I'm going to get together with all my friends and I'm going to hug them all.
Tell me one thing people don't know about you.
That I'm actually a total introvert.
If we were to go on a date, what would we do? Where would you take me?
I'd take you to heaven, baby. That's where we would go. Okay.
Are you a gold star gay?
No.
And your favorite sexual position?
Sleeping.
Thank you so much for chatting today.
Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this. I miss seeing you.
I miss seeing you as well. Once this is all over, we're going to the Mandarin.
Thank you, honey. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye.